How was your weekend, Trojan fans? There's a lot of movement around USC over the weekend.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you're going to download it, this podcast is free, and I really appreciate your support. You can show your appreciation. If you're watching on YouTube, these mean a whole lot. Become a subscriber. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Click that red subscribe button, smash that thumbs up button, and do not forget to hit that bell notification so you won't miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/locked on and use code locked on for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Okay. I don't know about you, but does your neck hurt from twisting and turning at all the moves that USC was making over the weekend? There is a lot to talk about in this show, and I don't have enough time to talk about everything in this show, so I'm going to get right into it. And I might even have to carry some stuff over into tomorrow's episode. So we'll see how it goes. First, before I get into the new staff edition, got another defensive coach. And USC also picked up a couple of more defensive commits out of the transfer portal. Big news there. Trapdoor number 1 opened. And this is a result of going to the transfer portal too frequently for the quarterback position. I get it. Lincoln Riley's only done it one time since he's been at USC. But I think it might be becoming a trend. Malachi Nelson, USC's class of 2023 quarterback. Early enrollee, was in the spring, didn't get a whole lot of playing time. He was rehabbing from his off-season non-throwing shoulder off-season surgery. Well, he's jumped into the transfer portal. He does not want to stick around for 2024 when USC goes to the big conference. Why? Well, there's a lot of rumor speculation that Will Howard, Kansas State quarterback, is going to be committing to USC in the very, very, very near future. If he hasn't done it by Monday morning, it's going to happen soon. Miller Moss is scheduled to start the Holiday Bowl. Caleb Williams, everybody anticipates, is going to the NFL. That leaves Miller Moss, Malachi Nelson, and Jake Jensen, who was also on scholarship that Lincoln Riley handpicked when he took over in 2022. So, Miller Moss is playing in the Holiday Bowl. We know that Malachi Nelson now is not going to be playing in the Holiday Bowl. Remember, he didn't even suit up for UCLA. I don't know what this means, but it's not a good look. There's been a really hot topic over there on WeRSC.com. I talked about this. I hinted that this is something that would happen. Most, including myself, thought, all right, Miller Moss would be the quarterback to jump into the transfer portal, because why would he want to play backup again for another year? Well, it really doesn't matter which quarterback decided to bail out of town. It happened. USC is in a very precarious situation right now. Assuming Will Howard is coming in, he's going to be, figure quotes, competing with Miller Moss for QB1. Will Howard is coming to USC he's coming to USC, and he is going to be the front runner to be quarterback 1 in 2024. You don't come to USC as a transfer quarterback with 1 year to sit on the bench. You're coming because there's some NIL juice behind it. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like it. Just, you do have to respect that this is what's happening right now. I'm sorry that I went down this rabbit hole. Been talking about it all week over on WeRSC.com. Take advantage of the recruiting subscription special. A lot of good stuff over there. But I've been talking about it over here as well. Quarterback is the one position where trust and commitment means everything, especially with Lincoln Riley. He is your quarterback coach, whisperer, guru. And if you're going to recruit the number one, or who's considered the number one overall quarterback prospect, in the 2023 class. That quarterback is going to be under the impression that, you know what, I get it. Caleb Williams has the team this year. I'm going to compete with Miller Moss in 2024 for the starting job. Well, with Will Howard coming in, Malachi Nelson does not want to compete with with two other guys for that job. And it doesn't appear that he thought he was going to be the number 2 guy. So there you go. I'm going to talk more about this on tomorrow's episode. Again, this is just late breaking news on late Sunday, and I wanted to throw this out there. With that said, USC held its final official visit weekend of 2023 because it starts today. Excuse me. And it's going to extend through the rest of the year. Then on December 20th, and for the next 4 days, you have your early signing period. This is when high school recruits are going to say, all right, I'm going to USC or Georgia or Alabama or wherever they're choosing to go. And then starting in the new year, January 11th, official visits can start up all over again. So USC just had a nice weekend. They brought in some official visitors. And I'm going to go over those defensive commitments that they got in the next segment. There were 2. They actually got 3 commitments this weekend. 2 of them were on defense. But first, remember when Lincoln Riley said that he was going to do everything to make USC, he was going to make defense first the priority at USC? So far, he's staying fast to his word. He's hired away Antonlynn from UCLA. That's a win. And he's hired a North Dakota State head coach, Matt Entz, to be USC's new linebacker coach, / assistant coach, head coach on defense. By the way, Roy Manning holds that distinction as well. If you watched any of that North Dakota State-Montana playoff game on Saturday, you probably liked what you saw, at least fundamentally. Look, North Dakota State lost. It was a tough double overtime game. They lost to Montana at Montana. Really good game. Really good defensive knock 'em, sock 'em, snot bubble type of game. I enjoyed it. My everyday viewers and listeners already knew about the first 2 coaching hires, Antonlynn, Matt Entz. Well, here we are. Over the weekend, while Matt Entz was losing, while his team was losing in that double overtime game, Lincoln Riley plucked away his new defensive back coach. And somebody that both Nick Saban and Kirby Smart wanted. In fact, Doug Belk was slated to be Georgia's new defensive backs coach when Fran Brown took over and jumped to take the defensive coordinator position at Syracuse. Or he's moving up to Syracuse to be the coach. So what did Lincoln Riley do? He went out and hired Houston Cougars defensive coordinator, Doug Belk, to be his new cornerbacks coach, defensive backs coach. Quote, Doug Belk is another tremendous addition to our staff. His impressive body of work and reputation as a high-level coach and recruiter speak for themselves. I'm excited to welcome him to USC, said Lincoln Riley. That obviously means that Donte Williams is no longer coaching the cornerbacks at USC. In fact, guess where he's going? To Georgia. He's going to coach their defensive backs. I've known for a while that Donte wasn't coming back next year. However, this is a really good move for him for his professional career. This is a step he needed to take. I think he'd reached his ceiling at USC. Ace recruiter, but the development wasn't happening. Now he can go work for Kirby Smart, who specializes in coaching defensive backs. He's done a pretty good job with it. So great place for Donte, and I wish him nothing but the best. He went above and beyond during his time at USC. So here's what is there not to like about this latest coaching addition? Well, obviously, there's not a lot to not like, because when both Kirby Smart and Nick Saban want you, that's pretty high praise. In case you weren't aware, both of those head coaches specialize in coaching defensive backs. I just mentioned Kirby Smart. So check this out. Back in the summer of 2022, Nick Saban said, I tried to hire him a couple of times. I haven't been able to get to hire him, but he did a great job when he was at Alabama as a GA, and he's having a great career, and it doesn't surprise me at all. He was talking about his rapid ascension through the coaching ranks, becoming Houston's defensive coordinator. And Belk became Houston's co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach at Houston back in 2019. And he did that after he left West Virginia when he went to Houston with his head coach, Dane Holgorsen. He got promoted to the defensive coordinator in 2021 full-time, and he led a defense that was 6th in the country in total defense, 13th in turnovers forced, and 19th in points allowed. So you can see he's got a really big-time future ahead of him. He was doing that at Houston. The last 2 years, Houston's defense has dropped off a little bit statistically. In fact, they're closer to USC's range in the defensive statistics. However, there are some positives. In 2022, Houston's defense ranked 11th nationally in tackles per loss. They averaged 7.2 per game. In 2023, that number dropped down to 5.5. Not bad. Still a good number. In his 5 seasons as defensive or co-defensive coordinator at Houston, this is what he's done. He's mentored 13 All-American athletic all-conference honorees, 5 first-teamers, and 8 all-Big 12 conference honorees, including 2 first-teamers. 5 players from his defenses have been selected in the NFL draft, including defensive lineman Peyton Turner, who was taken first round, 28th overall by New Orleans in 2021, and defensive end Logan Hall, who was chosen in the second round, 33rd overall in the 2022 draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And even though he likes being associated with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, he did say that he's got his own thoughts in different things, and he likes to do things different from them. So he's been trained by 2 of the best, but he's also his own mind. He's got his own ideas, and that's really good. You want to build off of other people's and make it your own, and that's what Belk is bringing. This is what one of his former players at Houston said about his former defensive coordinator. If you mess up, he's going to tell you exactly how you messed up. The same way we speak all the time, that's how he's going to talk to you. He's not going to get out of his body with you and call you outside your name or do anything like that. He doesn't have to. But he's going to make sure he expresses what he did. He's going to make sure he expresses what you did right and what you did wrong as equally and as eager as he is to give you praise. If we don't see championship effort on tape, that's how I'm going to challenge them and coach them, Belk said. I think each guy should be coached fairly, but I don't think every guy should be coached the same. I love that fact that he looks for each individual person's hot button. He's not trying to coach everybody the same way. It doesn't work. So now USC has a new defensive coordinator, Antonlynn, a linebacker coach, former head coach, Matt Ince, and a defensive back coach, Doug Belk. That means we've got Sean Nua and Roy Manning left as the last 2 defensive coaches from Alex Grinch's staff. So far, Lincoln Riley is staying committed to his words. He's making the Trojans defense a priority, and not just a priority, the number 1 priority going forward. And he's not just upgrading his defensive staff. He's literally convincing guys who are defensive coaches, head coaches, coordinators, to take a demotion. Come to USC. You're going to get a pay raise, but I need you to focus on something more than yourself. I need you to focus on making USC's defense great again. This is another potential home run hire. Lynn was a home run. Ince is a home run. This one's got another. This one looks like it's back, going to the fences. Again, how often do you convince a coordinator or a head coach to kind of take a self-demotion? That's what Lincoln Riley's been able to do so far during this offseason. We're going to talk more about the coaching staff this week coming up on other shows. Like I said, it was a really busy weekend. I'm already halfway through the show, and I still got a lot more to talk about. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts on Locked On, plus our national sports shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Okay, take a deep breath. I need to. Before I get to the good news regarding USC's defensive commitments, look, I talked about it in that first segment. You say it again. You got to be careful. Riley is losing the trust of his quarterback recruits. I mentioned at the top of the segment, I don't want to dive too much into this right now. I'm going to make this a big topic on tomorrow's show, because again, I want to see what kind of information I can get. This is just late breaking news. But right now, USC has 2 quarterbacks available for the Holiday Bowl: Miller Moss, Jake Jensen. Malachi Nelson is in the transfer portal. So the Trojans got last week. They have started last week's official visits. They welcomed South Carolina running back Mario Anderson. He came in on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, they invited in UCLA's Kamari Ramsey, safety. Well, Anderson committed to Memphis on Sunday. And sources close to the Kamari Ramsey situation, around USC, still feel good that he's going to choose USC in the end. Right? He's taking the trips, making sure, dotting his I's, crossing his T's, making sure this is exactly what he needs to do. With that said, don't worry. USC had a official visit list on Friday that included the hot topic, Will Howard at quarterback, defensive lineman Carlon Jones, linebacker Jaden Walker, Mississippi State running back Joe Quavius Woody Marks, Easton Macarenas Arnold, as well as his brother, safety Achille Arnold. Is USC going to get all of them? We'll see. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to get 5 of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 of 6. USC already got 2 of them. They're off to a good start. And both of them are at positions that could use an upgrade. You got linebacker Easton Macarenas Arnold. And then again, his brother Achille Arnold is a safety. Those 2 committed to USC. Both are brothers. They're now Trojans. They both played at Mission Viejo High School. Local products. USC didn't show a lot of interest out of high school, so they ended up going to Oregon State, developed, and they became all conference caliber players. This is what you're getting from the defensive back, Achille Arnold, safety, 5'11", 200 pounds. And according to the On3 industry transfer portal rankings, he ranks number 42 overall, and he's the number 3 safety. He'll be at USC for 1 year because that's the amount of eligibility he has left. I mentioned he's an all-conference performer. He earned Pac-12 Conference honorable mention honors following the 2023 season, 62 total tackles, And of those 62, 2 were for a loss, and he also had a half a sack. He had his best season of his career in 2023. According to Pro Football Focus, Arnold had a 80.5 grade at the safety position, which is phenomenal, allegedly. Again, I don't know how they formulate their grades, but 80.5 is supposed to be really good. He's also really versatile. You can line him up at free safety, in the box, strong safety. He can also play nickel. So USC is getting a very versatile guy, and he's going to be a very welcome addition to the secondary. Let's not forget, he's got a brother, 5'11", 228 pounds, Easton Mascarenas Arnold. He's got a brother from another mother. A very diverse family, as his father would put it. So in the On3 industry transfer portal rankings, he's number 99 overall and the number 9 linebacker. He also has 1 year of eligibility. This season for the Beavers, he had 107 tackles, which is really good. And that of those 107, that ranks him second in the conference. And like his brother, he also earned all Pac-12 honors. In fact, he was first team all Pac-12 conference at linebacker. His strength is run support, and that's perfect because that's where USC can use a lot of support in the run game. This is what USC has added so far. You got those 2 young men, the Arnold brothers, fresh off their official visits from the weekend. They are now Trojans. You had already picked up in the week previous Nate Clifton, the defensive lineman transfer from Vanderbilt. Okay. You picked up a commitment flip from Jide Abasiri, the defensive lineman who was going to be going to Minnesota. He's now coming to USC. I mentioned the defensive lineman, Carlon Jones, who was on his official visit to USC over the weekend. He's a high school recruit out of the state of Texas. He was once committed to Nebraska. Well, it looks like it's coming down to USC and Ohio State for that commitment. I read one of his comments that he told Scott Schrader over there on WeRC.com. The way you read it, it sounds like he's coming to USC. You got to go check it out for yourself. And I also told you about a commit. This one is not a defensive commit. I told you on Friday's episode. I told you about Kalolo Ta'aga. Well, he committed. He's an offensive tackle. He's that project. He's got a basketball background. He's only been playing football for a year, but Josh Henson really liked what he saw in that 6'7", 270-pound frame. He chose USC. He chose USC over Arizona, Cal, and Utah. His stock really started to rise his senior year in high school. So USC had a very, very productive weekend. They picked up a defensive coach for the secondary. We lose Donte Williams. They picked up a couple of transfers in Achille Arnold and his brother Easton Mascarenas, who will play linebacker. And then you also got a offensive tackle for the future. So very productive weekend. Now, you did lose Malachi Nelson. This is something that I'm going to go into more in depth on tomorrow's episode. Because again, this is about the quarterback position. This is where Lincoln Riley is supposed to excel. Well, as of right now, in 2024, you've got Miller Moss, you've got Jake Jensen, and we're assuming Will Howard is coming in via the transfer portal. By the time I'm done recording this episode, it might have already happened. You do not have a high school recruit quarterback coming in 2024. And in 25, you do not have one either. With that said, Juju Lewis is class of 2026. Everyone anticipates he's reclassifying to 2025. USC is in a perilous position at the quarterback spot right now. We'll see what happens. So I got a few minutes left before we get out of here. Did anybody watch the USC men's basketball team play on Sunday against Auburn? Yeah, well, they're struggling. Sunday morning, they got their butts handed to them by the Auburn Tigers, 91-75, and the game wasn't even that close. This was another chance for USC to make a name on the national scene, and it was just another belly flop. Happened last week against Gonzaga. Happened earlier against Oklahoma. That one they played well. They just lost on the last second tip in. But right now, USC might not even make the tournament. They're 5-5 on the year, and they're not going to have much of a resume to lean back on unless they run through the Pac-12 conference. We got no wins. Enfield's is in his 11th season as USC's head coach. And let's be honest. Let's be fair. He's turned the program into a power player. They recruit with the best programs out there. But that's it. He can develop the talent into NBA first-round draft picks, second-round draft picks. But that's it so far. Andy Enfield, he gets his guys to play hard, and they give really good effort on defense. But that's it. You say, well, Mark, what do you mean that's it? Those are you're checking off a lot of great boxes that most programs want for their head coaches. Okay. Well, even with the number one player this year, and he's a point guard, USC's offense, it just looks like crap. Everything is one-on-one. They turn the ball over with regularity. They miss wide open shots with even more regularity. There's just, believe it or not, they kind of resemble the USC football team on offense. There's no offensive identity. There's no flow. You got great players, but you don't have a system in place that's making those players look good. They don't pass the ball. I think I heard a stat from one of the announcers on the game. They average 2.5 passes per offensive possession. It's terrible. I mean, I don't know. I don't even think that counts the inbound pass, which, by the way, they struggled with that. Their heads just were not in the game against Auburn. Boogie Ellis led the team with 22 points. But again, he had 5 turnovers. Isaiah Collier, USC's point guard, the number one player in the country coming out of high school, he had 4 more turnovers. He leads the country in turnovers, by the way. The team had 15. If you saw the game, you saw the same thing I did. Look, when things get tight, when your team built of stars, they try and do everything by themselves. When the ball, they turn into black holes. The ball gets there and doesn't go anywhere else. So you'll see Isaiah Collier start out on the wing, try and dribble drive his way to the hole. Same thing with Boogie Ellis. It's great if you can get to the hole and draw fouls. USC actually made their free throws in this game, but they did nothing else well. Look, for me, it's not hard to figure out what's wrong with this Trojan team. They're 5-5 on the season. Like I said, they're in serious danger of not even making the tournament this year. And they haven't even started Pac-12 play yet. There is not another team out there that does less with more. I mean, like I said, Andy Enfield, he recruits really, really well. But for whatever reason, he can't get this team to come together all at once. You know, we've got that Elite Eight. You've had a Sweet 16 run. Look, I'm not going to say it's time to get rid of Andy Enfield, but I will say this. I think Jen Cohen, she has her eye on what's going on right now. USC is going into the big conference. And if you're not going to see this team improve when you've got Boogie came back, when you've got the number one player in Isaiah Collier, you've got Kobe Johnson, you got Vince Uwachukwu, who was considered one of the best players on last year's recruiting class. You got Bronny James. I understand he's going to take a while to work himself into game shape, but you get my point. Talent is not an issue on this team. Effort on defense is not an issue on this team. They've got a point guard. We thought that was the issue. We thought that was the missing ingredient. They now got a point guard. We now got to figure out a way to get this team to play as a team on offense. Because when you put so much effort into defense and you don't see it resulting in a good offense, you're going to see your defense start to slide. And I think I start to see that happen towards the tail end of this game. And I don't want that to carry over throughout the season. So we'll see what happens with the basketball team. There is a lot of football to talk about. I will be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. We're going to talk about Malachi Nelson jumping into the transfer portal. We're going to talk about USC's quarterback situation. We're going to talk more about USC's defensive coaching staff, who's here, who's going to stay, as well as the commitments. On December 20th, early signing period starts. Just a couple days away. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.